Okay, so in this video, we're going to continue on talking about recruiting new units. Now, previously, we've gone over just some of the basics with ordering new units. Now, when we talk about our infantry units here, each of the states has a integer related to it with its recruiting pool. I'll put a picture on screen for you now as an example from the rule book. Now, most of this stuff is going to be handled behind the scenes by the computer program itself, so you don't have to worry about it, but you do need to understand the concept behind it. Now, each one of these states is going to have a chance every other turn for their integer to increase, depending on the associated number there next to it, which will increase their recruiting pool. However, if a unit from that state is eliminated, there's going to be a 25% chance that that integer is going to be reduced down to 0, which is its lowest possible number. Again, all this stuff happens behind the scenes, so you don't have to be overly concerned, but you do need to kind of keep track of the fact that you don't want to lose a whole lot of recruits from the same state, otherwise you can lose that recruiting pool. Now, let's say you've lost all of your recruits and you can't buy any of them. You do have access to what's called emergency recruits, but the difference is it does raise the prices. So where we see here our infantry, cav, and artillery are 5, 7, and 7. If they were emergency recruits, that would become 7, 9, and 9. So you would be paying that extra $2 per recruit. So you're never really out of troops. You can always recruit more, but it could cost you a lot more money in the end game. Now, something else that you have to be concerned with is up here to the top right. We've got our production limits. And you see for cavalry, it says 6, and artillery says 4. When it comes to cavalry, this has to do with how many horse factors you have available to recruit new cav units. So you see, if I click here, and this is giving me a reminder, but this is what we're talking about, and I purchase one cav unit, my cavalry amount in my production limits does go down. So you see, we can just keep clicking and spend a bunch of our cavalry resources. We're out of money. We can't afford any more cavalry, but if we did have a little more money, we could spend them all and use all of our cav resources. Now, the thing is, you're going to get 6 new horses. Each side does get the 6 new horses each April, but you can only carry over a max of 9. So let's back this one out. Let's say we had our 6 and we received another 6 right now, giving us 12. If we tried to keep those 12, that would get reduced down to a total of 9. So make sure if you do have extra cav resources that you do spend them, that you don't try to go above 9 in your holdover. So the other factor that you have to worry about is your artillery factor, and this is a general term to basically represent industry, your foundries, how much stuff, machines, and metal can you produce. This is what this number up here is representing, and that's going to be used for everything else that is not infantry and cavalry. So your artillery, your ironclads, your warships, your guns, boats, even your rail capacity, all of that is going to be digging into this same pool. So you can see we click here on our rail, and this is saying the same thing. If we were to increase our rail capacity, that takes from our artillery. If we click here on artillery, that takes from our artillery, obviously. So everything that we're doing here is going to take from that artillery pool. Now, kind of similar to the way that infantry are produced, the artillery, the foundry factors are associated with specific cities on each side. So for the Union forces, that's going to be Boston, Philadelphia, and New York, while the Confederates are going to have Atlanta, Charleston, and Richmond. So those cities produce their foundries. They produce their artillery factors. There is another city, one of the border states, Baltimore, does give a factor to whoever controls that city. Now, just like cavalry has a maximum holdover, artillery factors do as well. So you can only hold on to as much artillery factors as you have production. So let's say our production is 4 currently. We could only hold on to a maximum of 4 foundry factors, the artillery factors, until our next production phase. So make sure that you spend down to at least whatever your current production is. Now, something else you do need to keep in mind when it comes to these artillery factors is that the states that I mentioned previously, the production states themselves, if they are captured by enemy forces, then those foundries will be destroyed. And this is except for the border states. So this doesn't apply to Baltimore, but for Boston, Philadelphia, New York, all those states, the Confederate states as well, if they are captured, those foundries are destroyed and will no longer produce. It will take a playing of an event card to bring those foundries back into play.